See, the law of three was made to order to undo the law of two. Two is always oppositional. Two is always antagonistic. Whenever your mind makes a distinction between Republican, Democrat, black, white, gay, straight, American, non-American, we can show that within a nanosecond, you choose sides. It's just the dang nature of the mind. And it thinks it's smart because it chose one side. This is where we're at right now. And it's just not getting us anywhere. The foundational Christian doctrine about the nature and shape of God, and we just made it into a mathematical conundrum which we couldn't resolve, so we shelved the whole thing. And I remember the Irish nuns who taught me, and she held up the shamrock in the third grade and says, God is like this. And then she said, don't think about it, all right? Now, actually, this Irish nun was rather correct, really, because it is unthinkable, just like we learn about consciousness and the nature of the universe. But the first word, and this, if you haven't maybe been exposed to formal Christian theology, it might strike you as heretical or unusual. But it took that early Christian period 3 centuries to unpackage this gobbledygook language of Jesus, where he's talking about being one with the Father, but talking to the Father as if the Father's over there, giving you the Spirit, but being one with the Spirit. The Spirit is in the Father gives you the Spirit. When I read, John's Gospel as a priest, I can just see all Catholics, their eyes just glaze over. I don't know what he is talking about. Well, the whole Christian world didn't know what he was talking about, but after 3 centuries in Cappadocia, 3 brilliant theologians, 2 named Gregory, 1 named Basil, they finally said, well, here's the best we can do. God is like a circle dance. Peri means around. Choresis or choreography means dance. If I said that to you today without quoting the 3rd century or 4th century, you'd think I was really flaky, wouldn't you? God is a circle dance. Well, the reason we can talk that way and receive at least a partial receptivity is because of quantum physics and everything you've been talking about here. Suddenly, God as a flow, God as a communion, God as an intercommunion, God as an interdependence, not a particle, but the relationship between the particles. My God, Christians had this in code form all along and never recognized it. I'm predicting in my book, The Divine Dance, that the next century will be the rediscovery of the real shape of God. And the irony is, I know if you weren't raised Christian, or even if you were, to talk about Trinity must sound like super, super, super Christian stuff. Actually, it isn't, because most Christians don't understand it. And in fact, it opens up the entire world of interfaith dialogue, because we have the Father as the unknowable one, total mystery. We have the Spirit as the indwelling one, incarnate along with Jesus into the physical universe. We have God flowing everywhere between knowability and unknowability, between psyche and physicality. It suddenly is actually a rather talkable notion of God. Whereas when I grew up, you listen to our TV. How often have you heard the phrase on American TV, the man upstairs? It's just to throw, the man upstairs, the man upstairs. And we're supposed to accept that. And most Christians don't even critique it. It's absurd. At first he's male, and he's almost always a white male. Usually has a nice white beard, too, He's got to deal with the woman downstairs. It's unworkable. It's unworkable, And then, I was the last generation of priests that had to learn Latin, and you probably know the Latin word for God is Deus, D-E-U-S. Does that sound anything like Z-E-U-S? Of course it does. It's the same concept. It's the same word. We basically, again, along with the whole Greco-Roman Empire, and it gave us many wonderful things, but our concept of God never moved much beyond Zeus. All right. And Zeus was throwing down thunderbolts at people he didn't like. You know, we just differentiated who the ones were we didn't like. Pagans and witches and women and heretics and sinners, and every culture and every century decided on a different sinner. You know, if you look at always who were the sinners was different, but we had to scapegoat somebody because that keeps a group together. And when you're at the tribal level, that's what you want to do. You want to know you're right. You want to hold your knowing in a safe enclave so you don't expose it to any non-knowing. Whereas the majority of the mystery of the Trinity is unknowable. But we thought we knew God. So we sort of pushed Jesus into the place of the Trinity. You know, I'm not a heretic in saying this, although to some of you it'll sound like it. As Christians do, to formally say Jesus is God is bad theology, is incorrect. The Trinity in Christian theology is God, all right? And when you pull Jesus out of this and put him up on a big throne that looks like Zeus, you no longer have a dynamic universe. Really. You no longer have a God who is in the flow of everything, but a being instead of being itself.